Joko, Chair of the Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. Welcome to our December 2022 HRC meeting. Before we start, I'll ask to Kristen Perkins to please read the native land acknowledgement.
In keeping with our values of equity and inclusion and to support those who experience marginalization, this evening's meeting will begin with a Native American land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the ancestral homelands of the Namkeg and Agawam people. Historical evidence shows that the Namkeg and Agawam were peaceful in their relationship with European settlers. However, their population depleted rapidly due to smallpox and other pandemic Old World diseases, unknowingly introduced by earlier European colonizers to the East Coast. To honor the Namkeg and Agawam communities, along with any other indigenous peoples who inhabited these lands now known as Danvers, Massachusetts, and who may be lost to history, let us take a moment to recognize the past, present, and future of indigenous peoples and reflect on our roles within settler colonization. We acknowledge these ancestral grounds we have collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that indigenous people have shown worldwide.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to the third item of the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes, and we have a few to approve here, let me welcome Shilpa and Johan, who are the two new HRC members appointed by the Select Board during their last meeting. And you'll probably hear from them in a little bit. But prior to that, I would like them to be sworn in by our Assistant Town Clerk. We can start by Shilpa, if you want to just come down here, please. Yes.
I'll come up to you. Okay, so raising your right hand, just repeat after me. I, Sharpa Jacoby, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a human rights and inclusion committee member, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of this Commonwealth. So help me God. Oh, congratulations!
So, and
Sign something.
well, I think she has to sign something there.
She does, real quick, well,
And
How far back does that book go?
that's a good question. We can have a look after she signs. So today's date, signature.
Should be some amazing signatures in there.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. 1971. Wow. Yeah.
And now, Johan can just go up, and I think she's here with her family. You guys can come up and stand with her.
Okay, so raising your right hand, you'll just repeat after me. I, Johan Hunter, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a human rights and inclusion committee member, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of this Commonwealth. So help me God. Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now that we have a quorum and you're officially HRC members, just have you introduce yourself, Shilpa, to the residents who are watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to other committee members as well.
Okay. My name is Shilpa Jacoby. I am the Assistant Head of Reference at the Danvers Public Library. I've lived in Danvers now for 6 years. I have 2 children in the Danvers Public School at the middle school. And I'm excited to be a part of this committee and serve my community.
Thank you. Johan?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Johan Hunter. I keep losing track of how long I've been in Danvers. I think I'm up to 7 years now. I have 3 children. I'm a wife. I'm a business owner. And I'm happy to be a part of this committee and bring whatever experiences and perspective that I can. I think that we're all here because we want to be able to share our collective experiences and help in whatever way we can. And we're happy to be here so that I can serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, on behalf of the committee, welcome on board. I will now move on to the third item on the agenda. And I know committee members might have comments or things to say. We can say that later on in the program or during new business. The third item of the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We had quite a few minutes that we noticed we had not approved before. We have November 2021, December 2021, May 2022, June 2022, and October 2022. They were all attached to the email that you got with the agenda. So I'll need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. Citizen queries is that if there's a resident, a citizen in the room who has questions, comments, this is the time. Here none. We'll now move on to where I will leave item 5, since we just sworn in our new members at the beginning there, and move on to the 6th item of the agenda, which is our student presentation. We have a next-gen representative here who would love to share with us some of the things that they're working on at the high school.
First try, got it.
He's got longer arms than you.
This one longer.
Yeah, it's on.
What?
There we go. What? Okay.
All right, I'll introduce it. Hello, everybody. My name is Ava Noon. I'm a senior leader here at, not here, but at Danvers High School for Next Gen.
Hello, I'm Isaiah Young. I'm a senior at Danvers High School and one of the leaders of Next Gen.
I'm Kevin Burke. I'm a junior leader of Next Gen at Danvers High School.
Is it just what? Okay. Before we go into what Next Gen is, I would just want to briefly read over our mission statement. Our mission statement says, Next Gen is a student-led program dedicated to providing anti-bias training, curriculum, and interactive games to elicit change in our school culture. The main focus of Next Gen is to have a curriculum brought in that would educate students about social inequities through a fun way through game design.
So far, the value of Next Gen has provided has been immense. Okay. We've started off with weekly meetings to help start this training with the freshmen. We've also done some summer professional development with the teachers at Danvers High School. We are, due to the positive outcomes and how well we've done so far, other school districts are interested in the work we're doing in NextGen and want us to reflect that into their communities as well. Communities like Winthrop and Framingham.
Do we just wait for the next?
Sorry.
Our administration brought in, they want to bring in someone who is well-versed in educating students about social inequities, and that's where our advisor, Ms. Ridley, comes in. Ms. Ridley is the Associate Director for Racial Justice and Tech Policy at Brandeis University. She is the reason why we are able to maintain and create the positive environment that the student members of NextGen are able to enjoy.
NextGen started off originally as leadership through game design, in which we're going to create a game for the freshmen and/or teachers at Danvers High School to help illustrate some of the problems that we have noticed in Danvers High School, like racism, microaggressions, like sexism, homophobia, all of that. But we decided halfway through to make a transition to a more long-term solution in our plan, which was the shift towards your curriculum. And we decided that that curriculum should be directed at the freshmen, as they are eventually going to be coming over, and they're eventually going to be leaders in our community. They're eventually going to be sport presidents, sport captains, club presidents, and are eventually going to be leaders in our community. And so we thought it's best to start there, because we think it comes from the top. When you come in as a freshman, you look towards seniors as your role models, and we want to be the best role models possible for them, so that they can be the best role models for the future freshmen.
NextGen is centered around 5 core goals, the first one being creating a curriculum. As soon as we joined NextGen, curriculum design was implemented immediately. We wanted our curriculum to focus on obviously educating student social inequities. This is because we wanted to potentially prevent any further issues from reoccurring that Danvers High has been suffering recently. Our curriculum is finished and has been our guide throughout our meetings. Our next one is recruit freshmen. To recruit freshmen, we held an assembly for the whole freshman class, and where we showed an overview of NextGen with also a QR code placed at the end for them to join our club. We also held incentives like food and just obviously the creation of a game to get more involvement. Our next one is to create a playable game. We are creating a game throughout our curriculum, so we have worksheets on our curriculum that help map out specifics of our game, like characters, actions, and setting. This is to help us really just make sure our game is personalized to other students. Miss Ridley has a close assistant, Ezra, who's working behind the scenes, helping create our first demo, which is projected to be finished in early January, I think. So we're really excited about that. Also, it's going to be, I didn't mention what the game was. It's going to be a virtual escape room. We've let our freshmen have complete creative freedom over what they want the main focus of the game to be, in which they decided they want to focus on microaggressions, which I think is a very recurring issue in Danvers High. Our plan is to have each escape room focus on a different microaggression, in which the player, for example, one room could be bystander effect, and the player would go through the room and try to figure out how to prevent, they'll learn how to prevent microaggressions, educate themselves on it, and how to fight them. We also are offering professional developments to teachers. We've done one so far where we had, I would think about the whole district of Danvers turn out, and where we got to present NextGen as a whole and get their support underneath us. We also, our last goal was to improve student culture. This is still in progress, obviously, because we haven't implemented our game into our student place yet. We haven't implemented it yet. So we also acknowledge that improving student culture is a gradual process, and that's why we think NextGen will be really successful, because it's going to be continuous. And that's why we have Kevin Burke here. He's already been appointed our future leader, where he's going to be passing down, we're going to be passing down what we've learned, and he's going to be continuing to create a new game for freshmen next year.
What makes NextGen different from a lot of the other clubs is that we have our own curriculum, and it's not even a club, it's a program. It's going to be hopefully it'll become a permanent fixture of DHS, And we're going to have this curriculum that's going to help shape and form how the incoming freshmen, how they'll become leaders and future role models. And we have a lot of different students from different interest groups. We try to be as inclusive as possible by getting everyone's opinion, everybody from any group to help out. We work with teachers and students alike just so we can get everybody, so that everyone is learning to become more inclusive and just better people. What makes it a lot different is that we do it at night so that it's a much more safe environment for people, so not all people are in the building, and everyone who goes is trusted. Everyone is a real bond that we have at Next Gen where everyone can say what they feel like, what they on their mind. It's really, we're just trying to foster a better environment for DHS, and that's all I got right now.
To really show you guys what Next Gen is doing to the freshmen, we decided to pull out a couple of freshmen to give us feedback about our club so far.
From Vivian Smith, she joined Next Gen because she wanted to be a leader and stand up for what's right. She wanted to make sure our school is a better community where everyone can thrive and feel like they belong.
From Grace, she said she joined Next Gen because she feels like you can really be herself there, and people will always listen. She also feels like the club teaches you how to be a better person, and it helps your community more. Next Gen has really opened up her eyes and made her more aware as to what the problems in the world are and how she can help solve them.
From Riley McGovern, she joined because Next Gen, she wanted to bring awareness. To bring awareness to students' problems that they face during school and outside of school. She also joined because she wanted to improve the school's environment for students who aren't yet in Danvers High.
Any questions?
He also meant to say thank you for listening to us.
Well, that is impressive. I mean, I am beyond thrilled with the initiatives that you have and that you've taken. As a father who have kids in the Danvers Public School, I could not be any prouder. As Dr. King once said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of true education. And I think the fact that you bring in curriculum into this so that you can leave a permanent mark for generations to come is really commendable. So thank you so much. And whatever we could do here to support you in that initiative, we will be partners. And shout outs to Ms. Janelle Ridley down there. She doesn't speak much, but she speaks to the work that we see here. So thank you so much. I don't know if any other committee members have comments or questions. Yes.
Have you done a presentation at the middle school at all?
And so I don't think we touched on this, but we should have. We intend to start to go to the middle school in a few months from now to start help bring Next Gen over to the middle school, because we think it really starts there, truthfully, because that's when everyone comes together. That's when cliques are formed. That's when people's opinions. That's when people are most impressionable, during their during that preteen, teenager age. And so we intend to go there very soon.
Okay, that's good to hear. Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Any? Yes, Bob?
I just want to applaud these students for participating in Next Gen as leaders, making inroads towards social equity and culture. Wonderful, fabulous opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments?
I'll just ditto that. It's great to see the young people getting involved. Keep going, and someday you'll be up here.
And hopefully do a better job than any one of us. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and anything we can do to support these initiatives, please, we're willing to be partners. So thank you. You're more than welcome to stay, but I know you probably have homework. So.
I don't know if you can tell by how we're dressed, but we have
a school thing at this. For
Yeah,
Oh,
we have,
good.
we have an award ceremony. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And I don't know, before you go, Ms. Ridley, do you want to say something, or they've said it all?
Honestly, just commending them, as they presented to the school committee. I'm sort of just the adult in the room, but they do most of the work, and they're always evolving next gen. Next gen evolved from them. I came in a different role, and they decided this is what they wanted to do and really sort of work at changing the culture. So I just advocate on their behalf and go along with whatever they say. They think it was kind of fun because I was like, you're my boss, so whatever you say goes. So
they didn't need much help.
yeah, they had it. I'm just, I just corrected a couple things.
Thank
Yeah, she does a lot of work and she's really helpful. And she is, yeah, she's too humble. She doesn't give herself enough credit, but she's done a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Okay, I'll now move on to the next item of the agenda. I know we didn't get any liaison updates on the email, but, and David Mills, he's not feeling well. That's why he's not here with us today. He called me to say that he was unable to attend tonight's meeting. Any liaison updates? Lieutenant Rob, Eric, nothing?
Just to say that, well, a couple of things. One is
We
that
don't have a
we're
microphone.
posting today.
Hold on, Eric. I just noticed
what-
we don't have a microphone. Can we?
My apologies for being late. I was actually doing topics of the town tonight, so that's as much fun as you might imagine. Two announcements. One is that, actually one announcement. On Tuesday at 4 o'clock, the school committee will be having a special virtual meeting, at which point we will be able to announce to the community the identities of the 3 finalists for the superintendent's position. So it's big news for us, and we're very happy to be able to go on to that next step. So Robin Doherty and Alice Campbell has done a great job getting this set up and working with the Mass Association of School Committees. So we're very excited about that. And the only other thing I would comment on is the group that you just saw did present to us on Monday night. And beyond the substance of what they're doing, we've all talked about the need to change the culture at Danvers High School and make people feel safe and welcome at Danvers High School. And this is at least the second group of students who are seniors, who are, have been in the school for a few years, take pride in the school, and are actually sort of taking ownership of leaving a better culture when they leave than the way at least they see it having been since they've been there. And to see the students take ownership of that, that feels really good to us. So we think it's going to make a difference. So thank you for having them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other updates?
I talked to Dave Mills on the phone this morning, and he is not terribly sick. He's just quarantining himself.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. I'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the DEI report out. Yashmin?
Thank you. So continuing this topic of amazing work being done at our schools, the curriculum team for the elementary schools will be having their second community learning event on Tuesday, January 10th from 7 to 8 p.m. And I will send a follow-up email to committee members with the flyer that they've provided me. And so as a reminder, these are opportunities for the community to learn what the children will be learning in the classrooms. And Unit 3 that they'll be learning is going to be a slightly different format than for those of us who attended the first one. They're going to be sharing community voices who identify with the identities that are being covered in the lessons. So this next unit is about people who are Jewish or from the disability community, Middle Eastern or Arab American. And they did a really good job being intentional with finding different voices. So there will be a high school student sharing about her experiences with anti-Semitism. There will be a teacher and mother talking about disability communities. And then they have a fourth grader talking about what the books that are being read, what that experience has been like for him. So that should be a really wonderful opportunity. And again, just reminding this committee, one of the ways that we offer to show support was by being physically present and showing solidarity in that way. And so I encourage you all to attend. It should be a real treat. And you'll learn something too. I've seen what they the presentation they put together. It's very impressive. Additionally, we did, if you recall, have to reschedule our history of anti-Semitism film and discussion. So we have decided to screen that now. Again, it's going to be virtual on Monday, January 23rd from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And again, this is a partnership with the Lapin Foundation to continue the education in our community around anti-Semitism, especially as we're entering, we're in Hanukkah season and recognizing that things have not necessarily quieted down since our major incident, but that this is a good time for us to continue proactively on educating the community on this topic. The last piece I have for you all, I'm going to be hosting a community workshop on Thursday, February 2nd from 6 to 8:30 in the Gordon Room of the library, and this is going to be called Facilitating for Justice. This is a community workshop I'm putting together to share how to facilitate conversations related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there are members of the community who want to be holding space to talk about race or oppression, but might not feel too confident in how to hold that space. And so this workshop is an opportunity to bring those folks together in a room to talk about what work do you have to do beforehand, what work or what will happen potentially during, and how do you close out the space so that we can start increasing capacity for this work by creating stronger leaders to lead these types of conversations within the community. Again, this is open to everyone. And so far a couple library folks have signed up, but I'm hoping to have some representation from this committee and as well as our residents at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes?
One question. For the curriculum presentation, is that in the high school again? Do you know?
I believe it will be in the high school auditorium, I want to say. I'm looking at, I don't know if Eric, if you know, but I will follow up. It is on the flyer. Okay. But again, I believe it's in the high school auditorium.
Any other questions or comments?
Can you repeat again what the event was for January 23rd?
That is the Lapin Foundation History of Anti-Semitism virtual film and discussion.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll now move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the HIDMIA Dialogue Training Debrief. We had was that in October or early? Yes. Kristen?
Sure, yeah, it feels like a long time ago now since we didn't meet in November. So October 24th, we met at the Danvers High School Library. We had several meetings leading up to that to talk about this event. We had Lauren from the Heathmere Center to support small group dialogue in order to kind of dive a little bit deeper into race and really understand how to approach these conversations out of curiosity and kind of learn how to respectfully pause and listen to each other's experiences. It started with a nice intro going over kind of the general language to be used and really setting the expectations, and then we broke into two small groups. We had dialogue for, I believe, about an hour, and then we came back together to have a debrief. I think it was very well done by Lauren, and it was very well attended by our group, so thank you everyone for joining. And I guess if there's any comments or questions that came out of that, I know we had an opportunity to provide feedback at the end. And yeah, I guess if we want to open it up and hear if anyone had any thoughts or anything to share from that experience.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions, comments? Yes, Jorge.
I thought it was a great program, but it didn't occur to me till after I left and sat with it for a while, about how would, and this is a question for Lauren, obviously, but maybe in the future if we do this again, how do you approach a conversation with someone who, for lack of a better term, is not working in the same reality that you are? Do you understand what I'm saying? How does that conversation go?
It's a great question, and it's a good point that you raised that. So the goal for this event was really to treat it like a pilot and to learn from it. And I know David Mills had voiced some interest about bringing this to the senior center and potentially other areas of our community. So I think that would be a great question to pose for the next event, and one that we can certainly return to Lauren in the meantime and get her thoughts on it. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer. But what I do know is that, I mean, if they are not in the same reality, this really, I mean, I'm not sure how we get them into reality. But if we are curious and continue to be curious, even if we can't get them across, at least we can disarm them that way. Because she spoke of how being curious kind of makes it
Maybe two. And again, recognizing it's Hanukkah starts on the 18th.
So we need to work to figure out how we light that up on the 18th, because we can start lighting it up and then have the event on the 21st. I'll follow up with you on that. Okay. Is there any volunteer of the committee who will be? Yes, Jorge.
I have a question. I will volunteer, but what time was the lighting? 6:30?
6:30 p.m. Yes.
Yeah, I will volunteer for some day before the 24th.
Perfect. So anytime before the 24th. Yes, Donna?
Oh, I can do a night.
Okay.
I can do any night.
21st.
Do you want me to send out a letter to the people we have from that community conversation that we had for Danvers residents?
To invite them all for the
See if
event?
they'd be
Oh, yes,
interested?
yes.
We also, it was primarily volunteer-driven last year. I don't even know if we had anyone from the committee, because all the it was all volunteers that were interested
People
from our
wanted to.
distribution list. And so we could also, in that same outreach, we could include the people from our newsletter distribution list as well, if they're interested.
So how do we want to do? So should we have Donna send an email and then have people lined up for the 18th, 19th, and 20th? Because the 21st will be all there. But we need people to do it for those first 3 nights. And then after the 21st, we'll need people to finish. So are you going to take that on, Donna?
I can send out the letter, yeah, and see what
Okay.
we can get.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I can get back with you or Jasmine or whoever.
Sure. Perfect. And I think there's also specificity about the time when they have to light it up. I think it's
usually
at
at sundown,
sundown.
and that's, yeah.
Yes, perfect. Any other questions on that? Here none? Perfect. Well, I'm moving through this agenda really effectively. MLK update. Paul.
You have an announcement on we as a committee, MLK committee, we are giving a drum major for Justice Award this year. And Dr. Joyko, would you like to make that announcement?
Sure. Well, you had to put it. Well, yes, the subcommittee for the MLK is recommending that for this year, we award the drum major for justice to one of our own, Dr. Charlie Desmond, for all the work that he's done over decades in this space.
Excellent. All right. And we met last Friday.
Hold on, Paul. Does this require a vote?
Not to my knowledge, it doesn't, but if I'm wrong,
David,
Eric
does it?
Crane's an expert on Robert's rules. I don't think so.
I don't necessarily think we need to vote.
No, we've never had, I don't think, as a committee, we've made a David, would you?
I think in the past we have voted.
Well, we might do that then.
Yeah.
All right?
I mean, we have,
Well,
we
I'll
have
move
nothing
right
to
now
lose.
that we nominate Dr. Desmond for this year's Drum Major for Justice
I'll
Award.
second it.
Okay. Any discussions? Hear none? I mean, we're probably going to hear more about some of the work that he has done over the years.
Right, he has an immense resume.
Yes, so
And,
this is something that's well-deserved, and as we know, this is the highest award that this committee offer. So we'll hear more about it, but no further discussions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? None, the motion carries. Thank you. Take
Well,
it away, Paul.
Like I said, started to say, we met last Friday with the members of the schools. Well, actually, Mary Wormers was representing the public schools, and we had, I was there, Dee, Bob, Jasmine. I think that was it. And we pretty much organized everything. I mean, we're going to have another meeting in early January just to finalize everything. But everything's in place at this particular point regarding somewhat the speakers. We've invited certain folks to come, elected officials, et cetera. That's taken care of right now. The music, the art, et cetera. Pretty much lines up the way we've always done it. And then this year, of course, for the first time, basically, I think it's in 3 years now, this will be a live event. And so in the past, when we've awarded a Drum Major for Justice, we had to do it Zoom, I guess, was the way we did it. And this is, prior to that, we had an outstanding gathering. I think it was in 2019. Is that correct, Dee? I think it is.
January
It was
2019,
January
yes.
2019. And so we're looking forward to that. There are a couple of things we have to touch base on. Number one is getting DCAT to film it live. And then, of course, they tape it and people can watch it. And then the other thing is we have to do a little work on publicity, which I believe the subcommittee, we can do that. That's an area that I've never really been involved with, so I'm looking for any help. And I think maybe we can enlist Jen Breaker to help us with something like that. But other than that, the event's the same. We're going to have art from public schools. We're going to have art from the Lions Club. We're going to have 4 groups singing. We have the Danvers, the middle school, high school, St. John's Prep is coming, and Brandeis University. So it's going to be an extensive program. And then we will probably get close to concluding it with the Drum Major for Justice Award presentation. Start out at 4 o'clock with the social hour, 45 minutes so, and then try to get going close to 5 o'clock. And generally, we're finished by 6. If anybody on the subcommittee has anything to add, please feel free to do so. But as I said, we're lining up right now the order of the event, the printing of the programs, et cetera.
I met to kind of talk about how we want to put this together and how we can make this a collaborative process for all committee members. And so in terms of goals, as well as how we actually measure those goals to figure out if we're successful, we wanted to kind of open it up and not come with all the answers, but hear about what committee members want. And so I just have a few prompts to kind of get the wheels turning. We don't have to have all the answers here. But over the next few months, we should start to think about, especially for 2023, where are we going? This is bigger than just showing up each month. What do we want to do? Let's be intentional about our time, the events that we run, and the work that we're doing. And so I think to start, I'll just ask these questions and kind of open it up for more of like a brainstorming session. But one of the first questions we were thinking about is, what are the things that you would like for the committee to accomplish in the next year? And so I guess I ask each person to think about it and share once you've taken a moment, what you envision for this committee to accomplish, considering where we've been, what we've seen happen in our town in the last few years, and where we're going.
Is that open to the committee now?
Open up, please.
Well, I'll go back to what Jorge mentioned. How do we get those folks that are diametrically opposed to where we may stand on issues in this room with us? Because we can continue to preach to the choir as long as we're able to do it, but that's not going to solve the problem. So how do you get an open dialogue with those that may not agree with you? And I think it's a sort of what we were talking about when we had the recent meeting we just were discussing over at the high school library. Because that was touched on a little bit, because I think it had to be. You just know that we're sitting there, we're all in favor of this, this, and this, but we know there's a group out there that doesn't want to hear anything we have to say, and I think we become frustrated too. I know I do, and I don't, at times I just don't want to hear what they have to say anyway, but that's not going to solve anything. And that's, I think, if this group, I think that's maybe what this committee was formed for years and years ago. And we're still, it's not what it was when David organized, set forth this committee, helped us get this committee. I know it's changed drastically from the time I got on, and I don't know when I've been on, somewhere around 2007. So we really, that's to me a real critical issue. How do we bring others into the room with us and find some middle ground? Other than, I'd like to have a treasurer on the committee.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I have an idea. Oh, are you done, Paul?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. And I don't know if we're supposed to take note on this or just say it, and then it's probably going to be reflecting on the minutes. But part of what, and this is a question I've always had, how do we gauge success? You know, we can do all these events, we can do everything and tap ourselves on the back and saying we're doing a good job. But are we really? And I'm envisioning and hoping that next year we are able to, in the same line of thought as Paul, create space and empower residents to be able to work with us. I think that empowerment, when I see what happened when we did the Take the Bridge March, it was so powerful. The idea came up during a community conversation that Jasmine had put together, I believe. They contacted Donna as a resource, and then they worked within the community to get 200 people on the bridge. That is what I hope we are able to do, because we, 11, 15, 20 people can't do it all, but creating space for these people who are historically marginalized and empowering them to be able to do, to speak for themselves or for their neighbors. If we are able to do that, I think we will have less to do. And then we will worry about the people who are on the opposite side after. Because at the end of the day, there are people, like Jorge said, it's the same thing. When people live in a different reality, I mean, what can we really do, right? We will try, but maybe we should start by the low-hanging fruit, which are the people who actually live in true reality, and then empower them to be able and create space for them to be able to express themselves, feel safe, feel supported. I hope that that's a goal. How do we measure that? I'm not sure. Maybe attendance to our events, maybe community-run events like Take the Bridge Back. That's how we measure success in that goal. That's my 2 cents.
I just wanted to build on both of those. So I think kind of calling people in. Jasmine has made great suggestions in our, I think it was a September meeting maybe, about like how to create resources for the community so that we are empowering people to create posters for different events or understand what their rights are for protesting. Whatever the things are, we can help to facilitate and connect people to information as well as actually create the space. And I'm thinking about like all of the events we run, and we'll get to this a little bit later with the subcommittees, but I think, you know, what I heard from our last meeting is that we've done a lot of events in the past, and we recognize how much work it takes to put all these events on, and it's difficult to get people to step up and want to take the lead on those events. Therefore, I don't know that we can continue to run all of these events. So how can we continue to grow and call people in and create this space? And so my solution would be to continue to build partnerships with people in town, the library, the schools, beyond senior center, and through the historical society and through the partnerships, we can more effectively continue to run these events and more, while also not having it fall on a handful of people in this committee. So I think that's how we'll continue to call in people with different viewpoints, because the people at the library, you know, might be a different population of residents than the people in the historical society, than, you know, the schools, and we could really capture a lot of different groups of residents if we focus on working with the different community partnerships, and it's good for our committee as well. So it's kind of how I was thinking about pulling all of that together.
I think you touched on something. When you mention different groups, the library, et cetera, senior citizens, another group, select board. I wouldn't have a problem sitting down off camera and just sitting with the selectmen and just letting it all hang out. No problem whatsoever. We know them, and they know us, and we're their committee, basically. They appoint us. But I think that's another idea, okay? And then I've got a few more that I don't think I would bring up at this particular point, but again, you have to sort of put your toe in the water and make sure there's some naysayers also have something to give to the committee, some skin in the game, as they say, okay? You have to do that, because otherwise, we're just all sitting around talking to each other. But if you go out and you touch the seniors, and if you go out and you maybe get into the library, there's other groups, other age groups, maybe it could be the Historical Society. But if you go to the Historical Society and the rail trail, you're getting people that have progressive ideas, and they're very positive groups. We want to try to get those that might have a negative feeling, and how do you draw them in? That's not a challenge just for Danvers. That's a national challenge, and so it's way beyond our pay grade. But it's certainly worth trying. It really is. So I think Kristen, you know something.
Yes, Donna?
I don't know if this is working. One of the things I always wished we had was more community involvement in this group. That's been something I think has been missing. There's nobody here right now, and I don't know how many people are going to be watching this, but I wish we had a way, when we talk about outreach, working with the different groups, the library, the selectmen, whoever, that's great, but we need to be reaching, I think, we need to be doing a lot more outreach into our community itself. We don't have to go to established groups per se. My problem is I don't have all the answers. I have ideas. How do we reach some of these people? Why don't we have people coming? Do they know that we're even approachable? Because I think we're an extremely approachable group, but I don't know that the community knows that. Do they even know we're here? Many of the people in Danvers. I'd like to do more community outreach. I want to involve more people in our community and want to hear from the people themselves, because that's who we represent. I suspect there might be things that we haven't even thought of.
So to Donna's point, I do know one person who did want to make it but was sick. So I want to acknowledge that in case she's watching.
Hi.
I did just kind of want to take a moment and take a couple steps back because I'm hearing I like the energy and I am thinking about, you know, quote unquote naysayers and how do we pull other people in. But I really want to address the sentiment that we might be preaching to the choir. From where I'm sitting and from the interactions that I have had in this community since I have been here, even within the community of folks who share our beliefs and our values and want to move to that better place, there is still a lot of education to be had. And so I think there is a danger in automatically saying, like, preacher, choir. I don't want us to staunch our own growth by thinking, like, I think that's the danger of that mentality, is that we might staunch our own growth by assuming we know what we're doing or we are the right side, they are the wrong side. It's a very dichotomous way of approaching it. And I can tell you that even of folks who I know are in support of my work, in my interaction since I've been here, they have also been the same folks who I have had to call in and call out on behavior. And I don't say that in a way like there's anything wrong with that, as you'll see in the training that we're gonna have following this conversation. That's okay, that's part of this work. But again, sometimes the choir's gotta get organized. Sometimes the choir has to rehearse. We can't just assume because we have the same ideas, we are approaching them all in the same way. So I also want to challenge us to think about what continued growth do I need to make? Because people might point to me on this committee as the so-called expert, and even I am so aware I have growth edges. I'm going to say the wrong thing. There are things that I need to continue to learn. And so I'm not always automatically looking to, well, who is in direct opposition? Let me go pull them in. But I'm like, how am I getting my community on the same page? How am I making sure we are all moving in the right direction before we are extending ourselves to folks who we think are so far in opposition of us? So I just want to kind of re-ground us in that. Because I'm fearful of that binary of us and them. This is an ongoing process. So I just want to remind us of that, even for my folks who have been on this committee since before I was born.
That's for sure. No. Not
Yes.
that old yet.
Yes, Johan?
Two things I wanted to mention because we're talking about what we want to do for next year and how we want to potentially grow or what things we are looking forward to doing as a committee. Have we considered maybe inviting some of the other committees, because I know we have some liaisons, but there's other committees in the town, like finance committee or, you know, anyone else that we want to hear from or partner with. Have we considered inviting them so that we have those contacts, and then, you know, if there is an opportunity that we need to work with them, we've created that bond instead of in lieu of just waiting for at the time that we need that relationship. So maybe if we have a continued, you know, olive branch to those additional committees, maybe that would help us also get more attendance as well.
Or invite other committee. Yeah, say good. Perfect. Yes, David?
Well, as the person who started this committee many years ago, because I knew we were not perfect, I've been reminding myself a couple of times that I say things that I shouldn't, because you just don't think about what your words might mean to someone else. And so I think that Jasmine's right. We're not preaching to the choir. We are the choir, but we still have a lot of notes we have to learn how to sing ourselves. And if we can improve ourselves, maybe we can bring some others along with us. And I'm pleased to see that Danvers is no longer the lily white community it was when I first started the committee. We had I think there were maybe 2 or 3 black families in Danvers at that time, and very few other minorities included. And I think Danvers is growing in a direction that's going to be good for it. We're becoming a quilt of many colors. And that's what makes America great.
Thank you. Any?
Regarding the metrics of success, the way to measure the success of what we're doing, I mean, we need a baseline. We've had an alleged case of racial profiling. We've had the incidents at the high school. We have a number. So are our events, is the coalition, is the education, is that number going up, or is it staying the same or going down? That's the way to measure, our success. I think that's what we should be looking towards.
So you mean like measure the number of incidents that?
New gen.
Okay.
That we saw. If
Okay.
we have a quantitative way to determine whether or not what we're doing, all told, is working. And if not, well, then we have to make changes.
Perfect. So I think, as Kristen said, this is food for thought for us to really start to think about, and as we go through the next years and set these goals, and be able to look back on December 2023 and say, yeah, we may not have changed the world, but what have we done? And really look at ourselves in the mirror and make those assessments. So this is a conversation that's going to continue. So,
Can I add one more thing, Dee?
Sure.
Because I know Paul has brought this up a few times and others. So we've definitely talked about the need from a budget standpoint to have that built into our goal setting and to align on that. And so, I did offer, in speaking with Jasmine and Dee, I did offer myself to step into that role, whatever we want to call it, if it's a treasurer, or if it's a whatever we want to do. Unless someone else is interested, I'd be happy to not do it too. But I'd be happy to support that. But my responsibilities would only begin with the next fiscal year because I will be on maternity leave until early June. So, if the committee is comfortable with waiting until then, or if someone else would rather do it before then, please just let me know. But I'd be happy to take the lead on that so that starting in the new fiscal year, we can at least have someone that has their eye on it across the committee, and that it doesn't feel like each time we want to run an event, we're kind of scratching our heads wondering how we're going to do it. We're not fundraisers here. We actually really can't do fundraising in this committee. We can do it through the Friends, and it's, so I think that will help give us some direction.
I just want to backtrack a little bit. I know we've had a lot of negative incidents in the town, but there have been some positive things, like when we had the Pride Party. It's the first ever one that we had in this town. And just to see the turnout, it was a multi-generational event. There were young kids there were older people there, and it was just such a wonderful event. My son, who's 11, said it's the best event he has been to in a long time. And it was just so. There are things like that that bring people together in the town and do have a positive effect, because I'm sure there are kids in this town who are queer, who have not had a place to go, and here they are seeing that the town is celebrating them. So I think those are some positive things that have also come out. Just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Thank you. And if there's no objections, I think we would take Kristen's offer. I'm ready to make some backflips here. I don't know about anybody else.
Well, I would nominate her for, I think that's the process we do, but it would be starting July 1st.
Well, yeah.
In the meantime, we can sort of keep going the way we are. We'll cover everything.
Or we can just, not doing much.
I'll second Paul's nomination.
Yes. So, Kristen, thank you very much. I think that'll be a great thing. Now, David, you tell me here, as far, because she will be helping us to do the balance sheet for the Friends and things like that. Do the Friends have to appoint her to And do I need to go to the bank and make her sign the?
Yeah, she would definitely have to go to the bank and sign papers.
Okay.
Probably she would need to be nominated and appointed by their friends, I would think.
Okay.
I think we have enough friends here tonight, we could go into a short recess and do that if you wanted to.
Okay, I think we could do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yes, okay.
But yeah, she definitely will have to sign paperwork at the bank.
Yes, and I can take care of that with her. Okay,
Would
perfect.
in this case, if we were to do this, I think I'm on Friends now too, somehow. I got on that one, but,
I don't know how that happened either.
but,
Bunch of us
but, would we have, if Kristen couldn't do it, could we have a second person that, is that how it works, in case she's not able to do
Well,
it?
right now, David can sign checks for the
Okay,
friend.
all right. So
Yes.
in other words, we have a backup
Yes,
to cover us.
I can sign those checks too.
You're gonna sign one tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, all set.
Okay,
Good.
perfect. So that's great. Last item on the agenda, which is new business. And we're going through this agenda rather quickly because, as you know, at the end of the meeting, we will have our last training session for the year. So any new business?
I did just want to acknowledge the select board meeting.
Sure.
If we can. So, for anyone that did not attend or watch the select board meeting when Shilpa and Johan were appointed, there was one select board member that it stated misinformation, non-factual information relevant to their resumes, and so it was very concerning because it was inappropriate the way it was stated, and it was not factual, and I think it's problematic because anyone that was viewing that meeting, either in person or watching via DCAT, could then hear what the select board member said and potentially spread misinformation in our town, and that it's not acceptable to me. So I did send a letter to the select board sharing my concerns, and I did speak with Dan Bennett this week, and I think for myself, I want to apologize to Shilpa and Johan for that experience. It was upsetting that that was the first experience of joining this committee, and I think anything that we can do to prevent anything like that from happening again, we will do. And I support the appointments 100%, so thank you for handling that so gracefully.
If I might,
Yes, Paul?
I was also there, and I concur with everything that Kristen said, and it was inappropriate, it's uncalled for, and to Mr. Bennett's credit, he cut it off, I think, regardless of what happened, you were unanimously approved by this committee. We're glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for being. I did watch that myself. I was gonna attend, but unfortunately, I was unable because I had a scheduling conflict. I did watch the interaction, and I also sent the select board members a letter. And the letter was very simple. It was there were just a few points that I wanted to clarify and set the record straight, like you said. Number one, I made clear that I let the select board know that they do have the authority to appoint or not appoint any member of our committee. That is their ultimate authority. But I also made clear to let them know that we believe that process should be fair, objective, and not degrading to the candidates. The third point that I made was that as we were looking for candidates to fill this vacancy, were very transparent with the candidates that we spoke to and intentional into looking for qualified, credible candidates with community involvement in this line of work, but also who are justice-oriented people and who could also represent marginalized people who historically have not been represented on these committees. Speaking of black and brown women, so I made that very clear to the select board. I also told them that this line of work requires, believe it or not, sometimes to confront some ugly truth from our history usually. And we can't shy away from it, we have to embrace it. I also did say that spreading misinformation either on the candidates or any group who is engaged in this DI work is not appropriate and not something that members of this committee will condone. The other point that I made to the select board in my letter was that we will continue to do this work along with some of those DEI groups like the NAACP, which I reminded them is one of the oldest civil rights group in our nation, which, by the way, were present when we were working on the Welcome Community Report alongside the town of Danvers. So to disparage them like a pariah, in my mind, was inappropriate and uncalled for. And I also reminded the select board member in question that the outrage was completely misguided. That outrage should not be going to the people who dare to raise the question, but to the perpetrator of the indecencies that we had in this town. And one of the points that the select board member made was that every single one of this town was made to feel as a racist. The actions of the ad hoc NAACP made people in this town feel like they are bad people. Well, again, that was completely misguided and untrue. But I wonder if the black kid who had a noose on his neck and the picture was getting circulated, is that also a Danvers resident? Did that black kid and his family felt like they were being racist, like the select board member portrayed? So this interaction was wrong in every single level. The line of questioning was completely inappropriate. It had nothing to do with the candidate qualifications or what they want to volunteer their time and their wisdom to not only do for our committee, but for this town. And until we can look ourselves in the mirror and really commit ourselves to this work as a town, we will not make progress. We've been working very hard, and I also made that point very clear to the select board. We've been working very hard, not only in this committee, but in this town, to change the tide, to move from these negative events that we had to the positive events like the Pride picnic. And this just takes us a few steps back because these are comments coming from our leaders. And it doesn't matter, once we get this awesome responsibility to represent the town in any capacity that we are representing everybody in town. It doesn't matter if I voted for you, if I didn't vote for you. You represent me too. So what is our ask? I'm not sure what this committee ask is, but in my letter, at a minimum, I hope the select board acknowledges the misinformation and the fact that our candidates, well qualified and deserving, were mistreated. Does that do anything? I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that they commit to working with us in this work and continue this partnership, because that's the only way we will change the tide and be able to create space for everyone in Danvers to feel that they belong and welcome. So I did mention some of that in my letter to the select board as well. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with everything you said, and I just want to let you know I've heard the select board will be addressing this at the, I believe at the beginning of the next meeting. So, and hopefully, I suspect they're all kind of caught flat-footed and totally benumbed by what they're hearing. I'm glad the chairman shut it off, but the fact that none of them responded to it, I think they were just caught flat-footed and had to think about a response and didn't want to say something inappropriate right at the moment. But I know they do plan to address it at the next meeting.
You know when that is, David?
I was just going to offer up, their next meeting is December 20th, so this upcoming Tuesday at 6:30 in this room.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Here none? Okay, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Motion
Seconded.
seconded. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Thank you. Good night, Danvers.